Hey guys, what is up? Sam Scorpio here, bringing you guys my first video in a while, and I'm actually going to be talking about the brand new details that Sony have just revealed via a Wired interview talking about the PlayStation 5. This is very exciting stuff. This is our next generation of hardware. Now, the only thing they refer to is that the console will not be releasing in 2019, but this was kind of expected. The fact that they only refer to 2019 does suggest a possible 2020 release date, and the fact they're already talking about this now is very exciting, because obviously, as we know, Sony will not be at E3 this year. It's just going to be Xbox running the show this year, so Sony have put out a few details now. Doesn't go so much into features, but more about the specs and the few big features that I know a lot of people have been asking for, and some of this stuff does sound very impressive, so we're going to get right into it by some obvious stuff. Firstly, it will still support physical media, meaning it's still going to have a disc drive. I know Xbox are launching a console that won't be having a disc drive, so it's very exciting to notice that Sony are still keeping that around, because, you know, so I still use my console as a DVD and Blu-ray player sometimes. I still like to buy films on disc, buy games on disc, so it's kind of nice to be able to still be able to use that here. Another very exciting feature I know a lot of people are going to be hyped about: backwards compatibility. They say due to the fact that it runs in a similar architecture to the PS4, it will be fully backwards compatible with PS4 games. This is awesome. Just means I'm not going to have my PS4 kicking about. I can just play games on the next gen. I can play all my PS4 games and all my PS5 games. Now, a few features they then go into is all about the specs, and these specs are where it gets very impressive. So starting off with the processor, it's going to be an 8-core AMD processor, and what's very cool about this is part of what's called their 3rd generation Ryzen line, which, while this won't mean a lot to anyone, it contains 7nm, I believe it's called, Zen 2 microarchitecture. So that won't mean a lot to most of you, but basically what that means is that is a processor that is like just coming out in the next few months. That's a brand new AMD technology, so it's cool to see they're going to be utilizing that. They then talk about the GPU in it, and that is again going to be coming from AMD, and it will be part of their Radeon Navi line. Now again, this is a brand new line that is coming this year and is expected to be unveiled at E3. This is going to actually run a custom version of this, and what's cool about this processor is it actually supports something called ray tracing. Now this is something that, to put it as simply as possible, it's something for the real-time, realistic rendering of lighting. So it's basically so that you can render lighting in real time as realistic as possible, so in terms of lights, shadows, reflections, all that kind of stuff. That's what's handling it. This GPU as well, also they do go on to say, supports up to 8K resolution. Now to be clear on this does not mean games will be running in 8K. That's just not a thing. That's not a thing yet. Even PCs don't generally do that. While it is possible that we will see some games running in 4K, and obviously basically every game I'm sure on this console, if it's not in 4K, it's going to be 1080-60. I'm very sure of that, so it's exciting to see that getting the nice spec up, and generally this console sounds very impressive in terms of its GPU and stuff. They also then talk about a solid state drive in it. So instead of using the hard disk drive that we've had before, they just decide, what the hell, we're going to chuck an SSD in it. They specifically say there is an SSD and it's going to have more storage than we've had before to compensate for how games have greatly increased in size. With games like Black Ops 4 and Red Dead sitting over 100 gigabytes, it's absolutely a needed feature to see more storage on these consoles. Also with an SSD, it's going to massively improve load times. As we know, with things like fast travel and stuff, load times can be big on these big games. And they talk about the fact that this was in fact tested on SpiderMan on one of the dev kits. This does lead me to believe it's very possible that SpiderMan could come to the next gen console as kind of a remastered version alongside possibly a sequel. And they say they tested it, and for example, if the load time on the PS4 Pro was 15 seconds, it's going to be on the new console down to 0.8 seconds. That's a 19 times increase in speed, and that's what an SSD does for you. It allows everything to be accessed and loaded much faster, so I absolutely can't wait to experience that. They do say again it's going to be a smooth transition, so it's going to start off with games coming out on PS4 and PS5 as we saw last generation, and then over time it'll transition to just releasing on PS5. So it's nice to see they're not abandoning PS4 immediately. That will probably continue to happen for a year and a half to 2 years-ish. People also talked about VR, and they said because of this new CPU and GPU, they can deliver some absolutely massive things for VR. And they do say that the current PSVR set will still be usable on that console, but they do lightly hint that we will in fact see a new version coming to the next generation in something that he calls a true game changer and the key to the next generation. I'm just so excited to hear what they have in store for us. We probably won't see anything at E3, obviously, with Sony not attending, so it is likely our first glimpse of this could possibly come at the end of this year, or maybe even not until next year, but it does seem to suggest it will likely either release in November 2020 or November 2021, based on previous patterns. So within the next year and a half to 2 years, we will be seeing our brand new generation consoles, guys. This is very exciting. If you guys have enjoyed this video and it's giving you guys all this new information, if you have, make sure to like, comment and subscribe. I'll see you on more PlayStation videos. Bye!